My name is Deb Morgan of Not a Rehearsal, and I've got the honour and privilege of interviewing contributing authors to Motivate magazine. Now, Motivate magazine is a business magazine that's available online or in print, and you can access it at www.motivatemagazine.com. That's MO2, the number 2, VATE magazine.com. I'm joined today by Lisa Cobble of Exceed Coaching, who is one of the contributors to the March Inspirational Women edition of Motivate magazine. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, Lisa, you've written a really interesting article called Not Today Chimp, and I'm interested to find out more about that from you in a moment. But tell me a little bit about your early life, because you had what you refer to as quite a normal life, didn't you?
Yes, thank you. I think everybody that considers a normal life something where you go to school, you study at school, you study the topics at school, and then as you're going through your learning, you tend to channel what you're going to be doing in the future with some sort of career related to something you've studied or things you've enjoyed studying. So you're always trained, if you like, to go towards that kind of steady job sort of approach and progress up that career ladder. Sorry. So that was the normal part of what I would say is a normal life.
Okay. And it was in this normal life you went through the school and the university progression and then into work. And it was in your sort of relatively early work career that you discovered what you've termed, well, not what you've termed, but what you later discovered was your chimp brain. Can you tell me more about that experience and how you discovered your chimp brain?
Yeah, thank you. I think it was when I was an apprentice, we were doing different team building skills, and one of the times we were being observed by everybody else, that they gave me some feedback that I automatically started coaching somebody, or I automatically took risks that other people weren't going to take or were refusing to take. And for me, it started to make me think, well, why am I more willing to try things? Why am I pushing myself more? Because and other people weren't, and they weren't getting the benefit from that push. And you start to then think, there's a lot about what we are as a human being that will try to keep us safe. So it won't let us try and jump over a big gap because your brain's saying it's too far, you can't do it, don't, just stay here where it's safe. And but the more I was talking to other people and saying, look, well, I'll do it first, I'll show you. So I would do it, and then they would go, ooh, and they would have a go. And the achievement of going beyond what they believed or they thought they believed was true to actually proving themselves different, that started to make me realize that there are some people that will allow their inner thoughts and beliefs to just control them and keep them safe, like that, doing the safe job, doing the safe things without taking those risks. But then you have other people, you might call them adrenaline junkies or something like this, but there's people that do push the boundaries and actually really do benefit from that, and that the awakening with them and the empowerment that they can feel is huge. So that it's the seeds for that, as you quite rightly said, started quite early on in my career.
Okay, but where did the term chimp brain come from?
So that's the chimp paradox,
Mm-hmm.
by, I forget the man's name, Professor Steve, and I think you've probably written it down in the book, the chimp paradox. And he talks about that chimp brain being the piece that's in there that keeps you safe, that doesn't want you to step outside of your comfort zone because it's too risky and it's too scary.
Excellent. And I've just checked it out for you. It's Professor Steve Peters.
Thank
And
you.
I read that book myself. It's a fantastic book, isn't it? Really, really interesting. And I totally understand that chimp brain. It really does stop us from doing all of those things we see so many other people doing. And it keeps us in our comfort zone, doesn't it? It's what it's designed to do, keep us safe. But
Exactly.
from there, then, you progress through your career and you quoted a poem. You say you developed roots and wings. What's that about? What happened in your career to make you feel you developed both roots and wings? Because that's quite a contradiction in terms, isn't it?
It is. And the poem, again, I've forgotten who's written it, somebody Wiley, I think. But the poem, it was actually read at a school induction evening that my family and I went to, and it got me quite strongly. It really did affect my emotions, because it talks about, like, it's more of a parents and child poem, where the family will give their children roots, they'll keep them steady, so you've got a good foundation, but you also then are given the support to actually learn and grow and develop, and wings to fly. And that was the analogy. And the piece that or the thing that struck me most at that point was my job that I currently had. I had a root in my job, because my whole ethos of how I was working, etc., was steady. But the wings, I had the ability to test other things by some volunteering or some leading some initiatives, that I wasn't paid for, but it gave you that chance to, I think I said, try before you buy. And that's that point, you get the opportunity to grow while you're still steady with something else.
Absolutely. And I love that phrase. You've got the roots, you've got some stability and security, but the wings to explore, to give you that
Yes.
freedom. And it's right, that analogy of your parents keeping you safe. We talk about fleeing the nest, don't we?
Yes.
So I totally understand that. And the poem Roots and Wings by Dennis Waitley, I'll look that up after, because that sounds really, really interesting. So at that point in your career, am I right in thinking you were quite a senior level?
Yes, I started to move into a senior role, and it was moving into that role that I think it came to me. Somebody had said to me, "You don't need to get approval for your holidays, or you're senior. You make your own decisions." I was like, "Whoa, make my own decisions." That was just completely. And this is more of the wings. Your roots were in your job, but your wings were being trusted and being, I guess, expected to just do what was right. And it was very releasing to think that I could just make my own decisions.
So that's fantastic. And of course, you've got your roots firmly set in the stability of your job, but you've got your wings to grow in life and within your job as well. And you talk in your article that helped you to find what you've called your brave bullet. Can you
Yes.
explain to me what your brave bullet is?
Yes, absolutely. The brave bullet is the piece that you ignore your chimp. So you will jump across a huge gap, or you will sign up for an obstacle course run that you don't really think you should be doing, but you put yourself out of your comfort zone. So the bullet is the piece where you might book that thing that you can't take back, or where you might commit to something. You say yes quick and think, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? But you say yes anyway. And that was it's probably grown a lot quicker and harder recently, where I say yes quite often and then think, oh, I shouldn't have done that, but I've done it now, and I've got to commit to it. So rather than back out, it's that bullet is that point where you commit to something that you don't want to let anybody down by not doing.
I like that, really pushing outside of your comfort zone. And I think it's Richard Branson, isn't it, who says, say yes, worry about how you're going to do it later. When opportunity presents, just say yes. And I can relate to that as well, Lisa. So I know a bit about where you're coming from. But what were some of the things that you have done? I mean, you talk about some of these exciting things you've done in your article. Talk to me about those, because they're quite extreme, actually.
Yeah. The paragliding one, which is the image, it was my birthday, my 40th birthday, and we were at Kefalonia, we go there quite often, and I'd learned that people were paragliding off the top of what was Murtaugh Beach, which is quite a famous beach. It's pictured thousands of times, and I suddenly decided that's what I wanted to do. And it was almost as if turning 40 was a license to do what I wanted and try new things, the same as the job, so it was almost like the wings had grown in different places all at once. And so I decided that that's what I was going to do. So while we were actually on holiday, I booked it and we turned up and I just jumped off the top. And like I said in my article, I'd met him minutes before at the bottom, just got in a car, off we went to the top and flew off the top, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. And it wasn't as anywhere near as scary as I thought it would be, but then I probably hadn't had time enough to think about what could have happened if we jumped off the cliff and I went down rather than sailed across the top like we did. So I think sometimes it's less thinking time and more just go for it.
Exactly. And sometimes you've just got to take that risk, haven't you? Because you never know where that risk could potentially lead you. What an
Exactly.
exciting adventure. And You say in your article that you now have what you call magpie syndrome. I'm
Yes.
interested to know the definition of that term. What does that mean?
I've made it up, but what I believe it means is that new opportunities are like sparkly, shiny things,
Mm-hmm.
and a magpie will not resist going to pick up another shiny, sparkly thing. And along with that instinct to go and look for something new to do or try something new, it's more so in business. You know, can I start a podcast? Can I write an article? Can I write a book? Why not? Try it. And so it's more the brave bullets element as well coming
Mm-hmm.
in, that go out there and just pick something up and try it. And then obviously your learning cycle comes in. If it works, great. If it doesn't matter. You've tried it, move on. And it's that kind of mentality where all those new things are sparkly. And yeah, there's quite a few magpies out there, I'm fairly certain about,
Yes,
those
I'm
that suffer.
recognizing myself in that.
Yeah.
So yes, there are quite a few magpies, and I think it's difficult if you have that mentality, if you have silenced your chimp brain and you do want to say yes to opportunities and grab hold of that brave bullet, then magpie syndrome is surely going to follow, because you want to see what you can do, if you can push yourself, if you can challenge yourself, and certainly if it fits with your business. And
Yes.
actually there's nothing wrong with doing that. And I know from your article that you've done some other things sort of around your business in terms of volunteering and work like that. Talk to me a bit more about that, because so many business owners will say, oh, I want to do this, but I really don't have the time. How do you find the
Mhm.
time?
I think it's not finding the time or don't have the time. You put the effort in where you feel it's beneficial. So the amount of times people say, "Oh, I just don't have the time for this," you say, "Well, right, talk me through your day," and you can find half an hour. Or you can find an hour that people think, "Oh no, I can't lose that," but you can. You know, you don't have to be the one that takes your child to an activity, or you don't have to be in bed till 7. You can get up at 6:30. There's little things that you can say. There's no excuse. There is time. You're just not using it the way you think you should. So there's always an excuse. So for me, it's, if you want to do something, you do it. If you're passionate about something, nothing will stop you from being overexcited and doing 100 things around it,
Mm.
because you can see the possibility. So in work, you talked about different things that I've done. I put my hand up to lead a health initiative at work, and I ended up having a team of about 9 people working with me. We were all volunteering, but the buzz around it was just amazing, because I just exploded in 1,000 directions, because it was new, it's exciting, and the amount of people that were joining in, of course, it feeds your excitement for what you're doing. And so that was brilliant. For about 2 years, I led that, and then passed it on to somebody else. A new sparkly thing came along, and I was leading what we call a STEM team. So it's science, technology, engineering, and maths. And I go out and volunteer with schools and universities and teachers and all sorts of people around that STEM environment. And I really do get a lot from that, because it's new and exciting all the time. There's new schools and new people to work with. And I've started a LinkedIn group to help support the ambassadors that are registered across the country and the world, to get more ideas and share things. It's the excitement, and if you've got passion and drive behind something, it doesn't stop you. You do find the time, or you squeeze it in.
Absolutely. And you mentioned in your article there's one word in your vocabulary that you've taken out. Share that word with me.
Would that be just?
No.
Can't.
Mm-hmm.
Just and can't are the ones I don't like.
Okay.
Can't, yeah, just, it kind of belittles everything, so
Yes.
take the just bit out. But the can't, I think a lot of I'll say things like that. I can't do monkey bars. You could, but you've just got to train for it.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody should be saying can't. Like, and obviously there are some people for good reason can say can't, but for me, there's you look at different examples of people in the world that haven't got any legs, but they'll still take part in things. You look at them and think there isn't a can't, really. I think so. I'd like to say that no, I do say often I can't do the monkey bars. I can't, and it's just you don't want to, or you don't want to put the effort in to train to do it. So for me, that's the word. Take it out and either say I don't want to, or I'll train.
Wonderful. And I'm assuming, therefore, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that you apply a lot of that mindset to your clients when you're coaching.
Yes. Absolutely. I think you have to find the things, like find the diamonds, I say, in between, you know, work out what really makes them tick and what will spark their excitement, so that again you give them that drive, that passion, and somebody else has called it making them bulletproof to their goal. So it's so ingrained within them that no matter what happens, things can come in, but they'll bounce straight off because you're still aiming straight at that end goal, and that's what keeps you strong.
Wonderful. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me today. It really has been an interesting conversation. As I said, I'm honoured and privileged to interview the contributing authors in the magazine. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners where they can find out a little bit more about you and how to get hold of you?
Absolutely, thank you. So yes, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, but the best place to start is on my website, which is www.exceed-coaching.co.uk.
That's wonderful. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me. And if you would like to read Lisa's article and all of the other articles in the fabulous bumper inspirational edition of Motivate magazine, you can do so at www.motivatemagazine.com, and Motivate is MO, the number 2, VATE, magazine.com. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.